Stack it and flip it and turn that profit into more. Level up, nigga, don't tell nobody what you know. Keep it 100, don't let nobody knock you off. Stack it and flip it, you gotta go out and get it. I said, fuck them if they ain't see the vision.
Hey everybody, we're back one more time for another episode of Bootstrap Billionaires. I'm your boy Jay. We talked last time. If you watched the last episode, so you know a little bit about me, you know a little bit about our company, you know what we do, you know what we're trying to do in the world. Went over some things last time, and this time we're going to talk about bootstrapping specifically. Bootstrapping is along one of our three timelines. The first being ideation, where a business is created from scratch because there's a need in the market. The second timeline is acquisitions, where we find a business that meets our criteria, we acquire it, purchase it, and then apply our model to it to make it better, and hopefully it turns a profit. We make some money on the back end. And the third timeline is turnarounds, where a business owner says, you know what, I really like what you guys do. I would like to try and switch over to that model. Can you come in and help us do that? And those are those three timelines. Bootstrapping is the first phase of the ideation timeline. So I want to kind of, just kind of touch on it a little bit. I don't really want to dig deep. We'll save that for another time when we have a little bit more of a base foundation of what things are. So it's going to be easier to explain. All right, so bootstrapping. The word came from literally putting on your boots with the little loop, the strap on the back. But it's something that you do yourself. So it's a metaphor for that. Very first business I ever started and owned after I got out of prison last time, and some of you guys have heard that story if you watched the last episode, was a lawn care service. I went out in the community, made some friends, built some relationships, built up trust over time and rapport with hard-earned work. Not just going in, smiling, shaking hands, and blowing smoke up people's butt. I've really put in the work. I don't mean just a couple of days, I mean months. When I did that, they asked me, hey, look, can you come do this for me? Can you come do that? Because I see what you're doing here, and I really like it. And I'd like to pay you for it. I was like, well, you know what? Don't pay me for it. How about this? How about you help me get the equipment? You keep title over the equipment until I fully pay you off, and then the equipment is mine. And I will come do your yards and all your landscaping for free until that number is met. Guy was like, yeah, absolutely, I'll do that. He was actually happy to do it. He bought not only a trailer, but, well, another person bought a trailer, but he bought a lawnmower, edger, weed eater, all the stuff that I needed, backpack blower, etc., everything. And I was able to come out and do his properties for him. Shout out to you. You know who you are. I don't want to put you out there. But yeah, my dude was really, really cool. And he saw that I was a hustler and I didn't give up. And that's the most important thing when you're trying to build up trust. You really got to put in the work. Now, that's how I bootstrapped that first business. So what we're going to get into now, hold on 1 second, let me go ahead and pull this up. If you can see it on your screen, this is Wikipedia. And it gives a little bit of a definition of what bootstrapping in business means. So bootstrapping in business means starting a business without external help or working capital. Entrepreneurs in the startup development phase of their company, ideation phase for us, survive through internal cash flow and are very cautious with their expenses. Generally at the start of the venture, this is where we got the word Lyonides Ventures, a small amount of money will be set aside for the bootstrap process. Well, what we do is show you how to do that essentially almost for free, which is why our fee structure and our business model is built the way it is, because we understand. I understand. I came from that. I didn't have anything. I got out with nothing, and I had to start from zero. So when it comes to helping companies and businesses or creating a new idea, if somebody's got one, we do our best to do it for free as possible, because we understand what that economic moat from having nothing to trying to take control of your financial freedom and get stable looks like, what it feels like, what it does to your life. That's why we're so passionate about that. And let me go back to that real quick. Just excuse me, so I do a little transitioning. All right, so, and this kind of explains what the experts on this topic have put into Wikipedia so far. There's 3 stages here: birth stage, funding, and then outsourcing. So birth stage is, where everything starts at. That's what the process we just talked about. And then when things get up and running, now you've got money coming in, you own your equipment, and now that you have these assets, those assets can be leveraged for more capital, which is super important. A lot of times in that first phase, the birth phase, the ideation phase, the bootstrapping phase, a lot of the equipment has to be rented, or it has to come secondhand or free, or somebody has to offer it to you for some kind of barter exchange like work. But once you get the business up and running and you make it past that break-even point where everything is yours, and now you can use those assets in the future payments, which we'll talk about at a later date, accounts receivable and things like that, where you can use those assets to leverage capital to expand your business. I mean, you're going to need more workers. You're going to need more tools, better tools. You take on me. When I started with the lawn service, I started out with 4 yards, all for the guy that got me the equipment. And then like a week later, I had 5. 2 weeks after that, I had like 11. A month after that, I had more yards than I could handle. I had more jobs than I could handle, so I had to hire somebody. And trying to hire somebody, looking at my budget, I realized I'm only going to be able to afford 2 or 3 people. I need to bring some money in here. So using the assets of the business to get more capital so your business can survive that expansion phase. And this is key, because a lot of people get caught in this trap where they have more work than they can do. They will try to do it all, and then the quality of their service starts to go downhill. And then the trust in your brand and what you do starts to disintegrate, and the business dies over time because of it. Also, once you start to do what you do, depending on the market, especially in the industry of landscaping, it's super competitive. I live in the state of Florida, in Jacksonville. Man, summertime, there's 1 million people out there cutting yards. And once they see your system and see how you do it, now you got competition. So unless you have the manpower and the capital to expand at a rate to provide that same level of quality or better, your competition over time is going to start to expand themselves. And if they're really serious about the competition, they will outwork you, and the quality will be much better than yours at a lower price, and they will price you right out of business. It's a scary place to be. So having access to capital at that phase is crucial. All right, so phase 3 is the outsourcing stage. And that's where, doing my books for a little while, it takes time. And when you're trying to expand and you're taking on more work and you're making sure that the process and systems are in place, sometimes you just don't have the time to do everything. So this is where you have to learn to delegate keenly. You've already learned a little bit about delegation by having more employees so that you can expand your work and compete adequately in the market. But now you've got back office stuff that needs to be done, like logistics, paperwork, contracts, invoices, accounting, budgeting, et cetera, et cetera. Then you got to worry about marketing and building a marketing plan. And if you're a lawnscape person, like I was, you don't know about that stuff. You know about cutting grass and making the outside of somebody's house or business look beautiful. So learning those things will take you away from the focus of your business. Once you lose focus, if you're the sole leading force in that business, and this is another scary thing that we'll talk about later on, because your business should run exactly like it does without you. If everything in your business depends on you, you're in danger and you just don't know it. So when you get to that point where you need those things and now you have access to more capital, you can leverage that capital to take you from where you're at. Let me pop back into just me here for a second. You can leverage that capital where you're at to outsource and delegate those jobs to competent professionals. People that's what they do every day. CPA, if they're credible, that's what they do every day, and their track record will prove it. So you can offload all of that. I mean, a lot of stuff like the budgeting, the inventory, the accounting, like the financials, the P&Ls and all that stuff, taxes, even some of the financing aspect. You can offload that to a CPA and trust that it's getting done accurately and know that the reports that they're giving you, because you've done it for a little while and you understand that, which is another key thing. You at least need to understand these things. Offloading that to them, when you get the reports back, you can see, and you get, instead of having 30 million numbers to watch, you only got to watch really essentially 2, the gross and the net. Knowing what your expenses are, how much you're pulling in, and then how much you're taking home after. So you can figure out what portion of that, those profits, the net operating income annually, you can devote to plowback. And you should not be putting your profits in your pocket. You should pay yourself a market-based wage. It's another really important thing. If you feel like you're worth $50,000 a year, then that's all you give yourself. If you give yourself more, you are killing your business from the inside like a cancer. Don't do it. All right. So outsourcing those things can give you the freedom and time to be able to figure out the systems, put them in place, and be able to step back from your business and watch it run. And this is important, because if you can step back from your business and watch it run in one location, now you have a business model that's a package, especially if you're a restaurant. How do you think McDonald's got to how they are now? I mean, of course, they're the king of real estate, but what made McDonald's so keen and put it in the position that it is now, and little is it known that almost every fast food joint is built on the exact same internal model as McDonald's, because the guys from McDonald's, Ray Kroc, I think his name is, or I don't know, they looked at the process and figured out how to take friction out of that wheel so that they can make that flywheel move faster and faster and get more perpetual, so they didn't have to do anything to it. They put the fry pit next to the fry prep area, which was next to the hamburger prep area, which was next to the post prep, like the prep that goes directly out the door. And then once they started to take orders through a drive-through, they made sure that the whole kitchen was set up to be able to feed not only the counter, but the drive-through at the same time with such speed that the rest of their competitors could not keep up. Once they got that system down to a science, they packaged it up, and that's when they started buying other land and building in other places. That's how they went to scale. They took an idea that was nothing in the world, systemized it, made it fluid, took out all the friction in the flywheel, and expanded like nobody's business. Another really good example is Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola has the logistical system and the business model to be able to have somebody off the street like you walk in, hey, look, I got this new drink. It's amazing. I've got some traction in my city. Everybody loves it. And if Coca-Cola likes it, they can take that in and have it in every one of their distributor points globally in under a week. That's phenomenal. But that's the power of leveraging outsourcing and systems, which is super important for that expansion phase. Now, that all comes from bootstrapping. I mean, for them, it took a little capital. But in our day and age now, with the power of the internet And social media and things like YouTube and other visual mediums, that process can be accelerated overnight sometimes. If you've got a good idea and you've got enough hands on deck, especially with a collaborative work model like we have and that we are trying to put into the world, you got all those hands on deck. You can make things happen in half the time, sometimes a quarter of the time, sometimes a tenth of a time that it took somebody to build something 20 years ago, 10 years ago. When I was growing up, I'm 47 now. When I was growing up, getting things out to the world took so much effort that it allowed gatekeepers to get in the way. The music industry is a perfect example, and Chance the Rapper is an even better example. So to get a song heard by a record exec that could greenlight your project to the point where it could get you in the studio, it wasn't enough. Plenty of rappers out there, plenty of musicians out there that have made it all the way to a record deal and in the studio, but one of the gatekeepers on the distribution side said, no, we're not going to support that. And now the world can't hear your music and you're dead in the water. This is something, and this is a smart guy. A lot of people know that now, but nobody knew that about them then. Master P was an extremely intelligent person because he saw that problem and said, you know what? I know how to get around that. I'm going to take it to the street and I'm going to make sure that the world hears my music. If I have to hand everybody one of my tapes, one of my CDs, myself from the trunk of my car. Now, fast forward to Chance the Rapper, same concept, but he leveraged the power of social media and the internet. And he blew up 20 times faster than Master P did with only a fraction of the amount of work. But he had an idea. And a lot of what he did largely for free. But that's the beauty of bootstrapping, is taking your idea, knowing what it's going to take to get there, and realizing that the only thing stopping you from doing it isn't money. It isn't access to capital. It's the drive and the motivation and the commitment to your goal and your idea that will allow you to get from where you're at to where you want to go. All right, let's change up this thing here, because I want to give you another really good definition for bootstrapping and another resource. The last one was Wikipedia. This one, switch over to another view, slide this over. This one is from Investopedia. Bootstrapping definitions, strategies, and pros and cons. So it's going to give you a more of a clear-eyed view, because there are some downfalls. It takes a lot of work, but you're not going to put your life savings on the line to do it, and your family at risk and in jeopardy. This is something that you can do, even though it's going to take a lot of work. You can still do this with a day job. You can still make sure that you're financially stable while you're doing this, and not taking money out of your finances and away from your family and your people and your life to where you're sleeping in a car, and get your dreams accomplished. And you can start this at any point in your life. Doing it by yourself can be challenging, but it is possible. Doing it in a group, in a collective situation, those efforts are amplified by the amount of people, the amount of minds that you have focused on solving the problem. It's super important, man. Let's get their definition of what bootstrapping is. So Investopedia says, what is bootstrapping? Bootstrapping describes a situation where an entrepreneur, that's us, starts a company with little capital, relying on money other than outside investments. An individual is said to be bootstrapping when they attempt to found and build a company from personal finances or the operating revenues of the new company. We're saying that you don't even need that money. We're saying that it can be done largely for free. Bootstrapping also describes a procedure used to calculate zero coupon yield curve from market figures, which is a completely different concept. Now, the key takeaways from this, so we don't have to read the whole thing, is that bootstrapping is founding and running a company using only personal finances or operating revenue. For us, it's bootstrapping is founding and running a company using your mind, your skills, and your determination. This form of financing allows the entrepreneur to maintain more control. And when we talk about it, we're talking about sweat equity. But it also can increase financial strain. Owners can bootstrap by cutting costs, personally financing operations, cutting back operations, or looking for other creative short-term financing solutions. And that's going to be more in that second phase, that funding phase, as opposed to the birth phase. The term also refers to a method of building the yield curve for certain bonds, and that's a finance thing, and we'll get into that later. And now here's some examples of things that were bootstrapped from nothing. GoPro, Facebook. Zuck, I see you. I see you. You're one of us and you don't even know it. Facebook and Amazon, Bezos. I know. Are examples of companies with humble beginnings and bootstrap starts. So when you get a chance, go check out Investopedia and their definition and some descriptions of what bootstrapping is. And it'll also give you some of the pros and cons so you can see if it's right for you. If it's not right for you, like we said, we're going to start providing some resources and some systems and a lot of the paperwork and business models and financing models and accounting models for free so that you can pick and choose what's going to match for your business. And then you can kind of Frankenstein those things together for yourself, again, for free. We believe in what we do. We believe in it so much that I don't want your money up front. I don't want anything. And if we can't do what we say we do, then you don't owe us a thing. That's impactful, especially, we talked about people in shanty towns digging through trash. When you're talking about third world countries, this is a game changer for them because they do not have access to capital at all. At all. And we can show them how to get past that. So let's slide back over to just me and then we'll work on getting out of here real quick. So again, bootstrapping is starting a company from almost zero. In our case, starting from zero, starting from nothing but an idea, and an idea that spreads virally throughout a community. And the community doesn't have to be local. It could be all over the place, just parts of a whole. We talked about that the first time with remote work and the laptop lifestyle. But building a community around that idea, getting all hands on deck, distributing the ownership of that idea between all the parties and legally protecting everyone involved. So nobody's idea gets stolen. Nobody's going to run off with their company because we have the legal structure in place to make sure that that does not happen. And if somebody does, then it's actionable in court and we will help you pursue them to the ends of the earth if we have to. That's something I do not put up with. I don't like bullies. I don't like people that victimize people or hurt people. And I don't like a thief, somebody that steals somebody's dreams especially. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here because I think I've said more than enough. I'm realizing now that I need to get a little bit more structure to this thing. So look forward to us having more structure in the future so the ideas are a little bit easier to understand and a little bit easier to unpack. Again, I'm Jay from Lyonides Ventures. This is Bootstrap Billionaires. I love you guys. Love and light. Bye-bye.